Stan Lee, the man, the myth, the cameo legend? Fans both hardcore and casual know that Stan Lee has been making cameos in Marvel media dating back decades. These blink or you'll miss it moments uplift Stan's legacy and provide fans a reward for paying close attention to the films. Today we're going to take a look back at 10 of Stan Lee's most memorable MCU cameos. And what better film to start with than the first film in the MCU? At number 10 we have Iron Man. Iron Man marks the start of what would be known as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and, as the first film in the series, this is also Stan Lee's first cameo appearance in the MCU.
We are so lucky. Robert Downey Jr. playing this role. I was born under a lucky star, I gotta tell you. And to be in a scene with him, brief as it was, and I'll talk to them about that later, it was a joy, really a joy.
The scene starts with Tony Stark making a surprise appearance at a gala. As he makes his way towards the entrance, Stark spots a gentleman speaking to two women, who he believes to be Hugh Hefner, founder of Playboy magazine. Stark pats him on the back and tells him he looks great, but as he turns around, it's actually Stan Lee. Now in the credits, Stan is credited as playing himself, so he isn't really playing Hugh Hefner, he just looks a bit like him from the back, especially since he's wearing a robe, which is Hefner's signature attire. In a deleted version of the cameo scene, Stark actually realizes his mistake, to which Stan Lee responds by saying, "That's okay, I get this all the time."
Well, we got to hang out a little bit before we started shooting, and I picked your brain quite a bit. It helped a lot going into rehearsals and all that, and it's just such a great character and story you created, and I'm just eternally grateful.
I'm grateful that you're playing it, and I want to tell you that I'm glad I was able to give you the various acting tips that I did.
You did.
And if you just kind of remember what I told you, just read the lines, don't trip over the furniture, and at any time just say to yourself, Howard, Stan, save us, and you'll be and I'm no further than your phone. You run into problems, I'm always there.
Moving on from the inaugural MCU film to the one that showed the potential the MCU had, we have The Avengers at number 9. Towards the end of the film, Stan Lee makes a very brief appearance in one of the many breaking news reports featured after the Battle of New York. Here, he's seen playing chess and questioning the reporter about the existence of superheroes in New York. While this scene made the final cut, there was actually a deleted scene that was a bit longer, taking place in an outdoor seating area of the restaurant where Steve Rogers and Beth the waitress share a moment talking about Iron Man. As Beth walks away, she looks back, clearly taking a liking to Steve. Stan Lee takes this moment to turn around and tell Steve to ask for her number.
Ask for her number, you moron.
Let's give it up for Stan Lee, guys. Woohoo! Yeah!
Anyway, jumping forward a few films to number 8, we're at 2016's mind-bending Doctor Strange. While being chased by zealots through the mirror dimension, Doctor Strange and Mordo land on the side of a bus, where we see Stan Lee playing a bus passenger, completely oblivious to the events happening on the other side of the window. Here we can also see that Stan Lee is reading The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley, which is perfect considering the book is about Huxley's exploration of altered states of consciousness, mysticism, and perception. And if that doesn't sound like themes found in Doctor Strange, I don't know if we watch the same film. At number 7, we have Stan's cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which had fans theorizing Stan's role in the MCU itself.
Stan Lee, the whole reason any of this exists, my hero, the greatest man alive.
If you didn't already know, Stan Lee appears twice in the film. The first time happens when the crew jumps through space trying to get to Quill on Ego's planet. Stan can be seen talking to a group of Watchers, a group of aliens that observe the events of the universe. And they're not supposed to intervene, but can't say they're very solid with that rule. Anyway, he tells a story to the group about a time where he was a Federal Express worker, which is a callback to another cameo from Captain America Civil War, where he was a FedEx worker delivering a package to Tony Stank.
Yes, this is Tony Stank.
I mean Stark. It's because of this where the theorizing begins, because fans believe that Stan is either a Watcher himself, or a being that transcends the films but exists within the canon of them. Kevin Feige later chimed in an interview saying that Stan Lee clearly exists above and apart from the reality of the films. And James Gunn even mentions that, quote, "We thought it would be fun to put that and keep that in there because that really says, so wait a minute, he's this same character who's popped up in all of these films, the same person," unquote. With those comments from Feige and Gunn, does that mean he's a canonized character in the films? Who knows? Maybe they're just having a little fun, but it's fun to think about one character, which is Stan Lee, Marvel legend, being canonically all of these roles throughout all of his cameos, and like that's real. That exists within the universe. He's like a superhero himself.
I remember every cameo I've done since the first one.
Moving on, Stan Lee's second appearance in the film is also during the post-credit sequence with those same Watchers, but this time they're leaving him behind. This role marked one of Stan's longer cameo appearances, and he really relished the opportunity to appear in more than one scene when the script called for it. On to number 6, we have Captain Marvel. Here we have the titular Captain Marvel walking through a train trying to find a hidden scroll. As she does a quick scan of all the passengers, she notices something that might be a little suspicious. Someone hiding their face behind a bright pink script for the film Mallrats. She walks up and takes a quick peek at the person behind the script, and ta-da! It's Stan Lee.
Trust me, true believer.
He smiles at her and she smiles back. It's a quick moment, but a touching one.
We did want to kind of have a moment to tribute Stan Lee in this movie, obviously.
And it serves as a quick callback to the film Mallrats, which Stan Lee had a cameo in as well. Alright, let's keep this going. At number 5, we have Thor Ragnarok. In one of his more comedic cameos, Stan Lee plays a crazy barber tasked with cutting Thor's hair.
My cameos are always fun, especially when I do one with Thor.
Here you see Thor go from the mighty hero of Asgard to a whimpering man strapped to a chair begging for his hair not to be cut.
No! Yes!
It's a great moment that showcases that Stan Lee's cameos can have a direct impact on the characters of the film, as we see that Thor's hair is now short for the rest of the film. In number 4, we go back a few films to the Avengers Age of Ultron, where Stan Lee's character has another moment with Thor. In the film, the heroes host an after-party following their victory early in the movie. At that party, the heroes can be seen mingling with the partygoers, and Thor and Captain America find themselves surrounded by a few war veterans. As Thor's pouring out a drink, a vet asks for some, but Thor tells him that the drink isn't for mortals. Another veteran replies to him saying that neither was Omaha Beach, and we see that that veteran is none other than Stan Lee. Thor passes him a drink, and we hard cut to Stan Lee being carried out of the party, but not before uttering his famous phrase, "Excelsior." Stan Lee frequently said that this is one of his favorite cameos.
Well, actually, I think I'm going to start referring to them, instead of cameos, as supporting roles.
Mostly for the fact that he technically appears in 2 scenes. At number 3, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, where Stan plays a man whose car gets shrunken. During a chase scene, as Ant-Man tries to drive away, Wasp assists by firing off Pym particle discs to shrink down their chasers' vehicles. In the ensuing chaos, Stan Lee's car gets hit, making him a victim of circumstance. While his line in the film was,
Well, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it.
there were several outtakes that weren't used in the film that could very well have replaced that line. My personal favorite?
Well, at least now I'll be able to park in San Francisco.
If this film took place in New York, totally applicable to New York as well. Now for our number 2 spot, we have a moment that was mentioned a little earlier in this video. From Captain America Civil War, we have Stan Lee, FedEx worker. As I mentioned before in this cameo, Stan Lee interrupts a touching moment between Stark and Rhodey by knocking on the glass window to make a delivery to Stark. However, he mistakenly calls Stark Tony Stank, which Rhodey latches onto and teases Stark about it. It's a nice moment where something so serious becomes lighthearted, and it's quintessential MCU.
In the days I was writing these things, I never thought it would turn into something like this. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And at number 1, we have another Captain America film, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This sequence of events is one of my favorites, and I'm glad that it also features a quick Stan Lee cameo. In the film, Cap is about to take on Hydra, but he needs a suit. We switch over to a scene at the Smithsonian, where we see Stan Lee playing a security guard. It's here where Stan Lee realizes that the display that he was supposed to be guarding had been looted. And Captain America's classic suit, which we see from Captain America: The First Avenger, is missing, leaving only a mannequin behind. And when we see Cap again, he's in his classic suit. Or rather, he took it back because it was his. When I watch the scene, it sends literal shivers down my spine because of the slow buildup of the Henry Jackman score, Stan Lee's realization that he's going to be fired, and the reveal that the suit is missing, along with a musical cue being played with the reveal. It's all mwah, chef's kiss. Don't y'all have moments like that where it's just like, you know what's gonna happen, but as it's happening, you feel this like excitement building, and then the release. It's just so good. And with that, we have our top 10 Stan Lee cameos in the MCU. Stan Lee's legacy can't be understated, and the cameos in these films solidify his influence and involvement in Marvel's history. Do you have a favorite cameo? Let us know which one and why in the comments below. And if you liked our video, don't forget to ring that bell to stay notified whenever we upload. Don't forget, Excelsior! Thank you for watching.